John, which as all of us know, since Hugo Chavez took over, has been awful.
I remember dating back to the Bush administration where they would orchestrate at world summits where they were both there. They would try to pass each other. The Bush people would always be sensitive, if not because they thought Chavez would try to strike up a conversation about trying to get around him. He called George W. Bush the devil. I remember when Obama was, at one point when he was reelected, he said he should stop worrying about global wars and deal with all his domestic problems here at home. The question is what comes next. Yes, there's a great opportunity there if, and we've had this question in Libya, we've had this question in Iraq, other parts of the world, if the government changes in a way that is open to international investment, U.S. oil companies, of course, other U.S. energy companies, other U.S. businesses, period. The question is what comes next. I was just talking to our friend Alex Castellanos, the CNN contributor, on the way out here, and we were drawing the comparison, you know, what comes next? Does the vice president get power? Does the vice president keep consistent policies? Perhaps, but he's not Hugo Chavez. Even in Cuba, you see when Fidel gives way to Raul, the charismatic leader that the people who support him and the people who oppose him have known for years, it fades and it becomes a very different dynamic. So I think the biggest question as you wait now for the transition is clearly someone who was a lightning rod for his supporters and for his global critics has passed from the scene. And what comes next?
Let's get someone else to weigh in right now. Eva Gollinger is joining us on the phone. She's an attorney and writer in New York, has lived in Caracas. She's written a few best-selling books, including The Chavez Code, Cracking U.S. Intervention in Venezuela. I take it, Eva, you were a former advisor to Hugo Chavez?
Yes, good afternoon. Yeah, and also a close friend. So obviously this news is very difficult, even though it's been something that we've been expecting to hear in recent days, particularly because of the bad turn, worsening of Chavez's health. It's terrible news for millions of people in Venezuela and around the world who love Hugo Chavez, have had a very close connection with him for over a decade now. He's been, I think, probably the most, I would say, president that's had the biggest impact on Venezuela and has radically transformed Venezuela in its history, I guess, since the times of independence of Simón Bolívar. He has changed the lives dramatically of the majority of Venezuelans. He's altered the country forever. His policies, have reduced poverty in more than half, have brought people out of dire circumstances that today enjoy a decent standard of living. His policies have implemented widespread national universal health care for all Venezuelans free of charge. I mean, he's done extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary things for the country. Of course, nothing is perfect, and there have been adversaries, there have been problems, there have been moments throughout his presidential terms over the past almost 14 years where things haven't gone as great as they could. But I would say overall that Chavez has a very positive balance in terms of his governing of Venezuela. And, he shared this very, very close connection with the people of Venezuela, which is something that few leaders are ever capable of doing. And he's someone, Wolf, who really gave his life, gave every single part of him, all of his energy, all of his soul, to helping the people of Venezuela.
Right.
So there were those who loved him and there were those who hated him, but no one can deny that he dedicated himself to improving his country. He put Venezuela on the map, and he recovered the Venezuelan national identity and the dignity of the Venezuelan people.
Eva